Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's News Update. Israel says it will not cooperate with the United Nations fact-finding mission on how Israel's West Bank settlements impact the lives of Palestinians. As we reported last week, the UN Human Rights Council recently appointed 3 independent experts to the mission. Israel's foreign ministry released a statement on Friday saying that the mission will not be allowed to enter the country or the territories, saying its existence embodies the inherent distortion that typifies the UNHRC treatment of Israel and the hijacking of the important human rights agenda by non-democratic countries. Israel had suspended its ties with the Human Rights Council after the council voted to establish the fact-finding mission on the settlements back in March. A sniper from Gaza fired on a parked Israeli car near Yad Mordechai on the Israeli side of the border tonight, causing no injuries but damaging the vehicle and a nearby building. The attack was unusual in that the sniper was able to attack without actually crossing over into Israel from the border with Gaza. The IDF spokesperson's unit said that the army has fired shots towards the source of the gunfire and was investigating. Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League Abraham Foxman have each come to the defense of Jewish billionaire Sheldon Adelson after calls from the president of the National Jewish Democratic Council, David Harris, urging Republicans not to take Adelson's money. The NJDC launched a petition last week demanding that presidential candidate Mitt Romney and the Republican Party reject Adelson's donations because a new report revealed that Adelson personally approved of prostitution at his casinos in Macau in China, where large sums of his money come from. In an op-ed for the Jerusalem Post, Dershowitz called the allegations absurd, saying they come from a highly questionable source, namely a former employee who was fired and is suing Adelson. Dershowitz wrote that while he is a Democrat and doesn't agree with many of Adelson's political views, he thinks it's outrageous for the NJDC to level unfounded allegations against Adelson, who he says is admired for his contributions to the world, to America, to Israel, and to the Jewish community. Speaking to the Times of Israel, the ADL's National Director Abraham Foxman said it was inappropriate to rush to judgment on Adelson and that attacks on Adelson should not be immune from criticism simply because they were coming from Jewish sources. Speaking of Abraham Foxman, the ADL was one of several major Jewish organizations that commended the Presbyterian Church USA for voting against divestment last week. Thursday's narrow vote of the church's General Assembly in Pittsburgh rejected divestment from Caterpillar, Hewlett-Packard, and Motorola Solutions for what they said was providing services that aid Israel's occupation. The Jewish Council for Public Affairs and the Israel Action Network expressed their appreciation for the rejection, with JCPA President Steve Guttow calling it a major defeat for the divestment movement and a victory for peace. Israel Action Network Managing Director Jerry Palast praised both the Jewish and Presbyterian communities for coming together against divestment. B'nai B'rith International also praised the General Assembly for their rejection in a separate vote of labeling Israeli law and practices as apartheid. Concerns remain, though, over several issues, one being how narrow the 333 to 331 divestment vote was. ADL National Director Foxman cited the biased and vehement anti-Israel sentiment expressed in the debate as especially troubling, including voices heard from fringe groups in the Jewish community who he says do not reflect the vast majority of American Jews. There was also concern over the fact that the Assembly did vote to approve a boycott of Israeli products made in the West Bank. The Simon Wiesenthal Center's Associate Dean Rabbi Abraham Cooper said PCUSA's boycott vote will not help a single Palestinian. It does, however, expose a dangerous double standard, he said, referring to situations in Kenya, Egypt, and Iraq. He also said that the PCUSA shows how the worldwide BDS movement, which seeks the destruction of Israel, has infiltrated the leadership of the church. An earthquake was felt across Israel today by residents as far north as Tiberias and as far south as Beersheba. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the magnitude was 5.6 and originated 130 miles south of Anatolia, Turkey. The Geophysical Institute of Israel reported that the tremor had a magnitude of 5.7. And lastly, students of an Israeli university are helping parents protect their children from unfriendly Facebook friends. Undergraduate students at Ben Gurion University in Beersheba have developed the Social Privacy Protector, which allows parents to adjust their children's profiles in one click, preventing criminals from garnering valuable personal information, keeping teens safe from pedophiles. And one of the most important components of the Facebook app reviews a user's friends list in seconds to identify which have few or no mutual links and might be fake. Michael Fire, a PhD candidate in BGU's Department of Information Systems Engineering, says predators rely on people friending anyone, and we believe that our solution can provide necessary protection for all users. And that's Shalom TV's News Update. I'm Teisha Bader.